I would describe my experience being coached by Eric Grauffel as truly one of a kind.
It's like being coached by Uncle Jordan. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance.
I think there's really nothing like getting coached by the best.
The way he talks about shooting and the way he experienced and just watching it, it's everything he teaches, he does.
I've had the privilege to train under other world champions, other national champions, and they're all great.
I mean, it's great. He knows more than I ever will.
Oh, he sees everything. It's scary is the wrong word, but he sees everything. He's made all the mistakes, and he's seen quite a few students.
So he's able to provide advice that you can take at face value because you can actually trust it, because he's able to demonstrate it and show it and has the resume to back it.
It's a really unique experience. It's something I look forward to every year.
I've never experienced with any other instructor. He will push you harder than any other instructor I've ever trained with.
So obviously Eric is the best shooter in the world. The coaching he gives, because of the experience he has, is unrivaled.
He's probably one of the hardest coaches in practical shooting.
An instructor is someone who sees your potential and pushes you not to feel good, but to a failure point, and then teaches you how to get better from there.
That he truly expects excellence from you every single run. He doesn't necessarily expect you to be at a world champion level, but he expects you to deliver the points and the best time that you're capable of on every single run.
You have the time, that's what it means. You have the time to invest on those two boards for those four particular shots.
Let me down easy, for your love for me is gone. Let me down easy, since you feel to stay alone. I know it's all over, but the last goodbye. Let me down easy.
What I like about practical shooting, that is so complex that it always requires a lot of knowledge, and you never stop learning. It's a constant learning process.
Is going to be the emphasis on points and time. That you can't just be really fast and you can't just be really accurate. You have to combine both together and focus on getting the best performance that you're capable of. Is really my favorite part about practical shooting.
Practical shooting is the best balance of speed and accuracy. So in practical shooting, we're using hit factor. And I think hit factor is the best way to see where you stack up, whether you are lacking in the speed side of the house, whether you're lacking in the marksmanship side of the house. You're always able to find the correct balance for the shooting problem that's at hand.
But when it's competition style practical shooting measured by hit factor, it's a competition gauge against the best of the best. So there's a metric, there's a measurement between speed and accuracy that you can take from any shooter at any level all the way up to the best of the best in the world.
It's a mental challenge as well as a physical challenge. It's something, I'm in the military, a lot of people in the military think they are good. It's really nice to be able to see what better skills are, and I really enjoy the challenge of getting better at the profession as well as the sport.
Well, shooting really just comes down to two metrics, right? It's speed and accuracy.
I think that it is a fantastic combination of all the skills that you need to be a holistically good shooter.
It really tests the competitor's mind. It's one thing to shoot in your backyard at your home range. It's another thing to hang with your friends and shoot.
I like the competition, how hard it is, how difficult it is.
I love it because of that aspect. You can never be as good as you want to be because there's always people pushing the limits, so there's always somewhere else to push. So yeah, that's what I love about the sport.
Today we are here at Eric Grauffel's class in beautiful Florida in Ruskin, known as Guncraft Range.
So the first day with Eric, we began by shooting some stages, pretty much worked stages in the mornings.
Seeing where we were at, what we needed to work on. So what Eric likes to do is put up a stage and see where the shooters in his class, the majority of them are struggling, and based off those stages,
identifying stage plans and the most efficient way to shoot the stages for us, and also planning for, I guess, contingencies or the mistakes that we knew that we were capable of making, and factoring that into our stage plans and being super detailed with how we were doing that.
Which is good, especially for those of us here who are active competitors. That's how you're going to run it in a actual competition.
And then we kind of were able to isolate some of the weak points that we had.
It was pretty interesting because I felt pretty comfortable at the beginning. I was performing pretty well, which is, you know, for me at the beginning of a stage or at the beginning of a match, I usually lack of consistency, like when I'm cold.
The first day of class with Eric Grauffel is always a little nerve-wracking. Even though I've had the privilege to train with him the past 2 years, there's always a little nervousness. You want to show him you got better, you want to show him that you've been practicing, but for sure the expectations are extremely high. Everybody at this class is at a specific level. So a little nerve-wracking, but nothing but smiles and jokes. A great time for sure.
And then kind of later in the day, shooting a bunch of stuff on the move, and specifically working shooting on the move in transitions.
The second day of class is focused on your weaknesses. It's way more difficult than the first day because you're working at things specifically that you're not good at. So
Second day started with the cold run as well. Then we came over to the large bay to work some more additional shooting on the move, and then we moved into swingers.
This morning we also started with a stage. We just shot that one time, and then we've worked both shooting on the move, we've worked some swingers, and some really big, kind of like the last thing we did was a 66 round stage, incorporating both. So shooting on the move, shooting swingers, some target transitions, and kind of putting everything together in a really large exercise.
it's not just more difficult with technique and shooting, but more difficult mentally to push through because you're working on something you're not technically good at. So most of the time you don't perform where you want to.
Things start to mellow down a little bit, and by mellow, I think everyone's getting situated with their skill set, having a good time. However, the expectations, the demands from Eric are way higher.
But adding in a lot more complexity with swingers and strong hand shooting, all that good stuff.
The drills are longer, the drills are more difficult. We're adding complexity, and it definitely gets the head spinning for sure.
For example, swingers, shooting on the move, a lot of shooting on the move, something particular that this class needs at the moment. So shooting open targets, swingers, hard partial targets on the move, very, very difficult stage plans, a lot of mental work on strategy and what we should be doing, creating contingencies in our plans. So if something does go wrong, we have a backup plan for that problem. And that's the main thing that we've been focusing on specifically in this class.
Everything, static shooting, being able to deliver on swingers at 25 yards plus, moving, lots of shooting and moving. We're trying to measure, is it more aggressive to shoot hard and move slowly, or move more quickly and shoot more carefully?
We focused on hit factor of the stage the first half of the first day.
The steel, I don't have visual patience and I pull the trigger too hard sometimes, so I go click and then I just move the gun. I miss the steel, so I have to come back. So instead, I should work on just calling my shot, prepping my trigger better, so I can actually go and click bing and then move. That would save me a lot more time on a stage for sure, which that was what we learned yesterday at the end, and I was the first shooter today this morning. And it happened again, even though I had that in the back of my mind. So it's just a matter of making it consistently and not trying to rush and just take my time in order to deliver the hits.
The progress over the last 2 days, I would say, does a little something like this. Right? We try to keep that strong mental focus, but then Eric will add so much complexity, the mental focus gets drawn away. And then the technique will start to dive down just a little bit. And then we'll have another drill where it's not so difficult, or a stage performance, very straightforward. So the mental game's locked in, then the technique's locked in, but then he knows how to bring you back down. And he's like, okay, you think you got it? Where's the consistency? And let's deliver again. So there is this little bit of highway, right? You got a stage win, and then you get absolutely, I would say, slapped in the face. And then maybe you're up in the pack, and then you get slapped. So the mental game's definitely a roller coaster. And the technique game, you know, you got to be able to deliver when you need to deliver.
So in terms of learning for me at this class has been big time on stage planning. That was the main goal coming here, is to pick someone's brain who's so much more advanced and experienced than me, how to effectively stage plan, creating an intelligent stage plan. And so yesterday doing that all morning long was pretty darn beneficial for me, I think. And then you add to that the sheer volume of reps of the shooting on the move drills that are on a grander scale than I set up, and you create an experience that allows you to expedite some understandings of what you need to do to actually get better.
I was personally having some problems with fundamentals, which is a little embarrassing. Too much time off from the last major matches of last season, but Eric picked it out very impressively, picked out exactly what I was doing, focusing on the dot and movement speed instead of focusing on the target and calling shots off of the dot, and then worked into how I viewed the moving targets with deliver, see it, don't rush, deliver, make it happen. So second half of the second day going much better.
Starting off a little bit slow, not super accurate, and Eric was there in my ear every run, pushing me to go faster, shoot slower, collect better points, and keeping me accountable. So seeing progress in that, getting better points on every run.
I've gained a lot of confidence, I would say, because surrounding myself with the shooters that we have in the class today, they're all high caliber GMs and class. And just, I never really had like a really good baseline to where I was really. I shoot and I just don't know how I did, Is that good, is that bad? And then here you can actually compare yourself with the best in the world, and also all the other guys in the group, where it tells me that we're kind of like, obviously they're in a higher level, but I'm not so far behind.
So I would say over the past 2 days, the one thing that I see increasing, the majority where my attention is right now is my shooting on the move, the amount of tension, the attention mentally needed to learn that shooting on the move isn't just moving and shooting the targets, but more about timing and positioning to allow me to shoot slower and continue to move and shoot targets as they're available. So I guess it would say more mental things, but understanding that there's a whole different technique to shooting on the move that I never thought about.
So yesterday we started out by working kind of the stages, and I think had some good runs, had some bad runs. Today I think I kind of had to separate day one and day two. So day one, I was kind of thinking about just kind of execution, and then moving into after lunch, really focusing on pushing a little bit more, trying new things, forcing myself to do things I may be a little uncomfortable with. Day two has been much of the same. I predict as we go further in the day, the challenges are going to get harder, but I predict we'll also end on the stage again. So my hope is being able to kind of flip that switch between execute, explore a little bit, and then back to execute.
And then next year, I hope to see him again, and he'll tell me if I got better or not. Like for example, last year, I came here not knowing much about USPSA or any competitive shooting, and then this year I basically know a little bit more, and it's marked a big difference in performance-wise.
I don't know if I could pick out one thing that I particularly enjoy. I do enjoy everything thoroughly. There's few things that I'll take from here immediately and bring back to my training program. One thing that I really love, and it's not necessarily the training aspect, it's the attention to detail that Eric gives to each student. He'll have 2 students running down both sides of the range, moving 30 yards plus, shooting 40 rounds, and he'll be able to recall everything that's happening left side and right side, and he'll spend the time to diagnose, break down, and really point out the key points of what you need to work on. And then he lets you know if you did a little good. But for the most part, he hammers you very respectfully, knows what you got to fix, and then you get back and work on it. Very few people, if any, in the world can do it at his level. And that's what I really thoroughly enjoy from his teachings.
For me personally, it's the scale of the drills that we run. I rarely ever, if ever at all, will set up something as elaborate and complex as this. So that by itself is already a great learning tool. You add to that having someone who is way better and not more knowledgeable than you on hand to give feedback, and you can advance a whole lot more rapidly than you can on your own, which is how I train 99% of the time.
So running stages is always a good time, and being coached by the best it puts a lot of pressure on, and knowing that there's always more work to be done, and there's always a higher ceiling of performance, and being able to know exactly what we need to work on based on those stages and the isolated drills that we do, makes it super fun.
For me, the thing I'm enjoying most is having Eric here to coach and keep me, accountable. He's one of the unique trainers that I've ever worked with, that he's very hard on his students. So probably harder than anyone else, that he expects you to deliver the performance that he demands on every single run.